Okay, hello everyone. Alright, so today's video is about replacing the shock absorber. That's the yellow shock absorber on the 3500 Chevy Cube van. So this is a 2020 Chevy 3500 Cube van, and I'm just going to show you what I did in order to replace this shock absorber. Alright, so firstly, I'm just going to point out to you that once you're doing a job like this, you want to make sure your truck is all secure on jack stands and jack. All right. Yeah. First things first. And then you're gonna want to make sure that you prop up the control arm. The control arm underneath where the shock absorber is that you want to replace. So in this case, the old shock absorber is right in there. You'll soon see a little more about it. It's just dark there now. You want to make sure you have a secondary jack that is propping up the control arm, because once you start loosening the bolt on top of the strut tower, the shock tower there, it's gonna start, the spring is gonna start trying to extend downward and put pressure on top of the nut that you're trying to remove. So just for ease, you just prop the lower control arm up as well. Now I'm using this Monroe gas Magnum gas shock as the replacement. I'm not sure which of these numbers they use, to be honest, but those are the numbers that are on the box that I can see. That's pretty much the box there. Those are the numbers if you want to pause it and take a look. And remember, this is the 3500 Chevy Cube van, and that's the actual part that we're going to put on. I already put the left side on. I'm going to do the right side now. What comes in the box? These two bushings, these two metal caps, one for the underside and one for the upper side. Well, and one for the upper side, along with this 14mm nut. Interestingly, well, or not, there's a difference in the size of the nut that's actually on the original shock versus the nut that comes for the replacement shock. The nut that's on the original shock is a 15mm. He's ratcheting 15mm to remove that one, and that's the 15. And then this is the one that goes back, and I use my ratcheting 14 to put the new one on. Also, you'll find that the rubber may come off, the bushing on top may come off, sticking onto this cap here for the upper portion of the existing strut bushing. Yeah, but what I did, I just simply removed this one, because there's this little like a pipe, a tube, metal tube on top, which you'll see in a second. Well, you can't see it here now, but it's down below here. Once I remove this, you'll be able to see it. It's down below this, and this bushing that you're seeing here, this bushing is actually it has an opening in the middle that fits nice and snug over the tubing that's there. You'll see it in a minute. Whereas the replacements don't have that opening. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking in a few moments. All right, once I get it off. So let's go right ahead and take it off. Oh, by the way, the two nuts at the bottom of the shock are 13mm as per this vehicle, and I'm using my 13mm socket with a long reach. I have my torque wrench, which I just use to run them out once I break them loose. Just makes the job quicker, right? But you could always do this with your regular ratchet handle and socket. So these two, which I'm referring to, are right here. These two, that's one there and one there, and they're pretty easy to remove. Like literally, there's probably 50 foot-pounds. I don't even think they're 50 foot-pounds, maybe 60. I don't even know, but I know what I'm feeling for when I'm tightening these or loosening them. So those two are 13, and the one on top for this existing one is 15. But I'm going to replace it with a 14, as that's what I got with the replacement. All right. And so remember now, removing is like a dual job, because once you start loosening the nut on top there, then the whole thing will want to start spinning on the inside of the shock tower. So I have my vice grip here, which I just lock onto the top of the piston, the shock piston, and I have my 15, which I have locked around the neck of the nut there, and I'm going to twist them in opposite direction until I remove them. I'm going to have to put my phone down until I'm able to show you a little bit more, because I'm going to use both hands now. At this point, I'm almost done. As you can see, the whole thing is turning on the inside. You look here, you can see using my pinky finger, my thumb alone, my index finger alone, just to move it, means that there's no pressure on top of here. And that is why we put the jack to prop up the control arm, because even at this point, if you didn't prop it up, because the coil springs are pushing, extending now because you're moving this, then there'll be pressure on top of the bushing there, so you'll still be feeling pressure to the very last. All right. Good, so I'm going to remove that, and then I'll show you what I was talking about with the hollow section in this bushing, original bushing, versus the replacement that I have, and how I worked around it, by the way. Alright, so here I am. I've removed both 13 nuts, as I mentioned before. They're like literally only 13 nuts, screws, bolts. I've removed both of them under here, very easy, and I've removed the top bolt, nut rather, and I'm just going to wiggle it out to show you how easy it is to get it out. There's no challenge to getting out, really. Just wiggle it, and the truck is already jacked up high enough, so just pull it, and there she comes, right out, just like that, and so here we are. We have our shock out right on the ground, very easy, trust me. It's one of the easiest jobs you'll ever do on a truck. So back to the point what I was making about the original bushings having this hollow section as opposed to the replacements. See, this hole is not as big as this hole, and here is what I'm driving at. Oh, this one actually came out on top of, this is interesting. So this one actually came off on this strut, which is very interesting. So the other one, this is the piece I was referencing. It's seized on there, so apparently it just popped right out on top of this shock. This is an interesting discovery. So the other one, this remained inside the shock tower. So where that opening is, this fella remained in there on the other side. I didn't bother to tap it out, I just left it, right? Whereas in this case, this apparently is a bit seized. Let's see if we can focus this thing here a little bit more. Yeah, it's a little seized on in there. So apparently it just came out with the whole thing, which, guess what, I'm not going to try to fight it. I may knock it off and put it back in, and in that case I would probably reuse this one, which if you just squeeze this hard enough, this thing will come right off, just like that one. See that? That's the one from the other side. This one, it's just caked, it's just baked on there because it's been on there so long. If you use a screwdriver and just probably pry it. Anyways, you get the gist. If you fight that, you'll get it off. You'll get it right off there. You'll get that off. And then what I did, just to cut this video as short as possible, what I did was I used the original bottom one, which is this one, underneath, given that this was still projecting downward through the other side of the shock tower, and I reused this one, just the bushing, but I used one of these newer caps on top with the new nut, which is this guy. Alright, so I removed this fella because it's a little bit thicker than this one. Let's compare the thickness there. Well, not much, but yeah, it's a little thicker than this guy. And it gave me a little bit more, how should I put it, depth or threading, because the next thing I'm going to do is to compare the length of this one to this one. Now I went all out trying to figure out. I got the part number from the dealership. I got the part number from the store that I bought this from, and this is how they compare height wise. Now it may look extremely shorter, but it's not extremely short in the real scheme of things. Let's see how we match up at the bottom there. It'll pretty much matched up there. But here's what makes the big difference. You see right here? This is actually no thread. There's no threading from this point, as you can see, upward. There's no thread. And the nut actually sits about there. So if you think about it in terms of this being extremely short, it's not actually short. Because once I get this up through the shock tower, and I get the nut just to start here, it'll compress right down, and it'll sit right about at the same height compared. You know what I mean? So it looks short, but it's not exactly short. It's just a slightly different design. As you can see, the bottom end is slightly different compared, but it works. It fit perfectly on the other side. I didn't have any issues. Only issue I think I don't like how small this end is. For when it's time to remove it, I'll have just a very small point to pinch with my vice grip. But hopefully I won't have any issues there. Alright, so the process is simple. You just do the opposite in replacing it, and you should be good to go. Alright, hope this video was of help. I'm going to do the back ones. I'll try to do another video for that one as well. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.